Okay guys, I just wanted to show you a quick example of what it might look like when you're working on your Elements and Principles accordion book. So this is after I've already traced and folded everything, and I'm just going in and using my materials to put examples of what each of those elements look like. So you can see I already put some line on the first one, and now I'm going in with some colored pencils and adding in color. Now I want to stress that this, what I'm doing in this video is just what came to my mind first. It is not what you have to do exactly for yours. You could come up with a different idea to show color in your little space there. Okay, so now I'm going in to the section labeled value, and I'm using a regular pencil, a drawing pencil, to add in values. So going from light to dark, just like in the pictures that we looked at in the PowerPoint. So obviously in my example here I am not finishing all of the sections, I'm just giving you an idea of what it might look like, but one thing that I'm going to do here is actually add in a background. So we're not just thinking about the shape or the silhouette that you chose. You want to think about creating an entire mini artwork in this space. So how can you fill the space with other lines and shapes and then add in the actual element that you're trying to show. So in this example, I drew lines to break up the background space, and then I'm adding more value inside those. So I could keep using this regular pencil. I could maybe add in some sections with value with color. It's really up to you what you want to do, but filling in that background space is really important. Okay, so for the section that you're going to do with form, obviously we're working on a flat piece of paper, so you're not going to be able to actually create a real form in this section. However, you are able to make it look like it is three-dimensional. So, and if you don't know how to do this quite yet, that's okay. We are going to do an entire unit on perspective, and this will help. But think about when you might make like a letter three-dimensional. You're going to do the same thing but with your drawing. So you can see I drew some lines coming down from those points of my leaf, and now I'm going to go back in and add color and make it look like it has a shadow, as if this whole leaf were a big block, like a three-dimensional object. So for shape, I want you guys to think about maybe recreating the shape that you have drawn on there just a little bit. So, and maybe abstracting it. So obviously you've drawn a shape on there, and my original shape is more organic, so I wanted to do something more drastic for shape so that I knew that that was the element that was being emphasized. So I just used more straight lines to go over that entire shape, and I would add more things in the background. So for space, we're thinking about actually creating a space that this picture or this form is in. So rather than what I did for the rest of them, I'm actually going to draw this leaf as if it were in a room, like in a photo or in a painting. So I gave her a little pot, I'm drawing a window behind it, and that shows space, so we can see that this leaf is actually closer to us and the window is more behind. And then I would go in and add the details to that. So for texture, you guys can get really experimental with this. I am using paper, and I'm going to glue down pieces so that it actually has a physical texture. When I touch that piece of paper or that section, there is a texture to it. Now, that would be called actual texture, but you could also find a way to create visual texture. Just like what we talked about in the PowerPoint, there's a difference between visual and actual texture. So you could decide what you wanted to do for yours. I feel like since I used a lot of lines and almost created a texture with my example of line, I wanted to make my texture actual for this section. So I'm just going in and I'm ripping up pieces of magazine and newspaper, so materials for collage that you will probably have at home and we have in the art room. So easy recyclable materials. You could really get really super creative with this. I know mine isn't finished yet, but hopefully these little tips will help you when you're creating your own foldable.